Richard Prosser.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, there's not actually a great deal left to be said about this bill, although having said that, there are a great many of us here saying a great deal about it. And I don't intend to wax lyrical for very long, Mr Speaker, this late at night and this late in the year. But I think I think it's poignant actually that there are so many voices in agreement about this bill, Mr Speaker, from all sides of the House, and I'm agreeing, finding myself in agreement with everyone who's spoken so far, including actually our colleague from the Greens, not on every detail. I think there are some aspects that, whereas they may have merit in themselves, perhaps don't fit the scope of this bill, and country of origin labelling is perhaps one of those. We certainly agree with that and support that as a goal. I don't know that it could have been fitted into this bill particularly, but that is something else to be looked at. In terms of when you go back to the very beginning, the explanatory note, Mr Speaker, it says the purpose of the New Zealand Horticulture Export Authority Act 1987 is to promote the effective export marketing of horticultural commodities, and that's what it's about. And if we were to go down the line that our Green colleague was suggesting, in other words, bringing all agriculture into the emissions trading scheme, that would be something, I think, Mr Speaker, which would work against the effective marketing of horticultural commodities. It would impose unnecessary costs on another sector of the productive part of New Zealand's economy that don't currently exist, really for no real reason. But that also would be outside of the scope of this bill. I'd like to acknowledge the work of our extremely able and affable chair, Mr McKelvey, who has shepherded the bill through its stages, working closely. No pun intended, Mr. Caleb. Working closely with the minister, and on that note, Mr Speaker, at the Committee of the Whole House, I did have a question for the minister on the SOP that he had brought. And we took it on trust that the information that the minister was bringing us on behalf of the industry was true and accurate, and that's certainly the case. I had the opportunity to attend the horticulture industry's end-of-year conference and the last speeches of that prior to assembling on the steps of Parliament for a recreation of the 1916 photo. So I managed to worm my way into that, Mr Speaker, and I'll be recorded in history forever as being who's that character there? Well, I guess I'll be written on the back somewhere. And followed by a cocktail function which I didn't attend, but I did notice one or two members walking in the direction of, Mr Speaker.
Okay, back to the bill.
This sounds like evidence in a jury trial.
Sounds like
jury trial.
Planet to me.
Judge only. But if we look at the overall aims of the bill, Mr Speaker, I think it's fairly clear that it does achieve them all. To enable product groups to develop more flexible and targeted export marketing strategies, yes. To clarify the requirements for product groups to enter into and exit from the export framework established by the Act, yes, it does that. To clarify the powers of product groups to collect fees and levies to fund their export marketing strategies, it does that. Improve the effectiveness of the enforcement provisions, does that, and formalise the information sharing activities, and it does that too. So it ticks the boxes for what it set out to achieve, Mr Speaker, and it's done it, in a way that it is it's gained the support of all parties across the House. This is actually about Parliament doing what Parliament should do. Parliament is listening to the industry, listening to the people. It's the people of the industry have come to Parliament and said, we want your help and assistance in putting together a piece of legislation that enables us to work better, for our industry to operate better, for us to make more money and more wealth for New Zealand Inc. It creates employment, everyone's happy, and as a Parliament we've come together, as a committee we've come together, we've achieved that, and perhaps this could be, I think, in the closing stages of this year, this could shine as a beacon for the new Prime Minister, whoever that person turns out to be, in the new year, now being realistic, Mr Gunner, to go forward into the new year in a new spirit of cooperation, embracing the positive suggestions from members from all across the House and coming to consensus conclusion and passing good legislation that everybody likes and everybody supports. So I'm not going to hold up the progress of this bill or the House any further. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First is pleased and happy to support this bill, and I commend it to the House. Thank you.